welcome to another episode of The Mom Game, episode 14 to be exact. I'm Emily Jones. She is Julie Dobbs.
Hello, Pam.
And not gonna lie, a bit of a different feel as we head into episode 14, Julie.
Completely.
It's it's been a week, huh?
It's been a week. My mind is just consumed, completely consumed with everything going on in the world. Even driving here today, I almost went off the road because your mind's just thinking about other things. And so much has changed in the last week since we've been here. So I'm excited to get in here and just to be able to have a little bit of an outlet to kind of vocalize how both of us are feeling about everything that's going on in the world. Because really, if we were going to talk about hockey or baseball or NBA, it just feels wrong right now. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I want sports back, and I feel like they're all on the right path. And so we can at least say that, right? And move on from that, because that doesn't matter. That's not what people are thinking about right now. That's not what matters in this world right now. And, I think we can just maybe start with how our initial feelings of not only when we saw the murder of George Floyd going around on social media, but how things have evolved from that point and how we've taken it in personally and for our family.
So I guess when I first saw the video, I just kind of scrolled past it because I was like, oh, this looks, I'm not gonna be able to watch this. And then I kept seeing it. And then I was like, you know what? I probably need to watch this.
Yeah.
I need to watch this because I need to see what's happening. And it made me want to cry and vomit.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm like, sounds so weird. I'm so glad I forced myself to watch that.
Yeah.
Because it makes you think, dear Lord, you can't keep being quiet.
No.
Right? So you have to have conversations. This is going to be a long episode if I'm already
It's
getting
okay.
teary-eyed.
It can be. I'm with you.
I mean, it's just, you feel, my heart just hurts for so many people and so many situations. And, it's prompted so many discussions with friends and family and so much reflection on your own life and how you're conducting yourself and what you're doing and is it enough and what more can you do? And you find yourself feeling so helpless and so not hopeless, but helpless. Like, God, what can I do? I want to educate myself, but I want to be sensitive. You're trying to do all these things. And I'm like, I just have to keep trying. And so I'm going to fail at some things. Some things I try are probably not going to be right. They're not going to be received right. For example, I did the whole Blackout Tuesday yesterday. We're recording on Wednesday this week. And so I thought that made me feel good. I wanted people to know. And then I started getting some criticism for that. Like, you're defeating the purpose and you're doing this and why. And I was just like, man, and had some people, I had a guy on Twitter, he was my Twitter friend. I've never met him. His name's Mike Tatto. And he was like, he wasn't directing it to me. He just said, I hope, all you white people that are, posting this stuff will stick with this. And it's not just, oh, look at me, I did this. And now I'm not a racist or whatever. And I responded to him. And I don't put myself in this category because I do feel like I've put myself out there as far as I am against this. I'm against racism. I'm not just not a racist. I am against it. But I feel like I saw so many of my friends who I was surprised stepped out there on that ledge a little bit.
Yep.
And I told him, I said, I think for some people, this was kind of their first step in getting out of that comfort zone to let those around them know where they stood.
Yep.
And it might, hopefully it's the start of something more. It might be the only thing they do. I don't know. But I thought, some people, there are some people trying, and we may not be doing everything right as white people, Lord knows, as humanity. But I want to try to do things. And like I said, not all of them might be right. Some of them might be, not perceived as right. But I will tell you this, my heart is in a good place. Like, I just want to know, like, if someone tells me that's a good idea to do, that I trust, and that's where I saw it from people I trusted before I did it, myself. But you just feel like, shit, what do I do? What can I do?
I think everybody, A, knows your heart is in the right place. B, I've never seen the world and the social media world this on edge, right? Everybody has something to say about A, the situation, B, how other people are processing the situation, C, what other people are saying about the situation on social media. There's a lot of, you're not doing it right. Well, you're, like you said, you're criticizing people who are doing a certain thing because they don't think it's enough. And you can't speak for anybody. And if they have those feelings, then they're allowed to have those feelings. I think the main thing out of all of it is people are doing something. People are caring enough to put it out there on social media, however that may be, whether you want to make some giant statement. Dak Prescott today came out with, just before we came here, the most amazing, just real words, donating $1 million to these causes that people need. So there's people that are doing it that way. There's people that are, doing the blackout on Tuesday that they did. And what matters is people are doing something. And I can't really get behind the people that are critiquing that they're not doing it the right way. I'm just glad that everybody's wanting to make a difference. And I think that's the biggest thing.
But
true.
A lot of people.
A lot of people, more than we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, and like you said, there's people coming out of the woodworks that you thought would not care or not want to get behind this or not want to cross into that realm where you can be critiqued for your thoughts. It's easier just to step back and just be quiet. And I've dealt with that too, honestly, just internalizing everything. I'm like, I'm nervous just to put anything out there because you don't want to get criticized for doing it wrong.
Am I saying the wrong thing? Am I right? I put out a tweet earlier in the week, I think, or maybe last week, that just said basically, I don't understand what it's like to be a person of color in this country, nor will I ever, as hard as I try, as much as I want to. I will never understand, period, end of story.
Right.
Will never.
We won't.
But I do understand that there is a problem.
Yes.
And I do understand that it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I understand that it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And if you can't see that, if you can't come to that basic acknowledgement that we have an issue, then Lord help us. Like,
right.
then I don't know what else to do. Like, if you think that when everybody's born, we've all got as good a shot as the rest. Like, everybody's on equal footing. Yeah. Hey, we're all born in America, land of the free, home of the brave. This is an amazing country. It is. But if you think for 1 second that a black kid is born with the same opportunities as a white kid, you're out of your mind. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
Nope, it's 100% true. And honestly, we learn about it growing up. We learn about the civil rights movement. We learn about this and that and the things that have happened in history. We learned that slavery happened and slavery is bad and it doesn't happen anymore. But you don't really understand sometimes. And I feel like this movement, people speaking out the way they are, is really making people step back and say, wow, there really is something wrong. There really is something wrong with not just the way we judge people by skin color, but there's something wrong with the system. And right. Where did this begin and why has it never evolved in all of these years? And honestly, like, I didn't really have my eyes open to all of that is wrong with the system and how this is ingrained in our culture and not having the same opportunities for everybody until this week.
And that's what I mean. I don't mean, okay, so when I say a black kid born today doesn't have the same opportunities as a white kid, and it's not just about color though. Yep. It's about socioeconomic status right. and like you said, systematic things that are in place and mm-hmm. have been in place for a very long time. That's why. It's not just, I mean, he was born in America. He's got the same rights. He's got the same, it's not that way. There's not the same opportunities because a system is in place and has been in place for a long time that hasn't allowed the black community to catch up.
Right.
And I watched, I don't know if you watched Emmanuel Acho's video.
Part of it.
So it's a 9-minute video and it's basically like uncomfortable conversations with a black man. Mm-hmm. And he said, I've been asked over and over, what can I do to help? What can I do? What can I do? Well, I'm telling you, sit down and listen to this. And it's 9 minutes. And one of the things he talks about, is, Black Lives Matter versus all lives matter. And he's like, imagine if you're running a race and you get it, and the people in the race get a 200-yard head start on you. And then you go. And even if you're fast, you're still not going to be able to catch up when they have a 200-yard lead. Let's say it's an 800-yard run, whatever. Yep. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is we've been, as white people, we've been put ahead for so long and they were pushed down for so long that it's not going to it's not just like, oh, we abolished slavery. Segregation's over. Kick ass. Let's
right.
go party.
Right.
Get some jobs and make some money and let's go get rich. I mean, that's just not the way it is. And so I think that us as white people, we just kind of want to be like, I mean, I'm nice to black people. I have black friends. This is,
Like,
It's
I'm not racist. I know I'm not.
Right, no.
I don't hang around with people that are openly racist.
I don't. And I well,
yeah,
I also
but there's
don't-
more to it.
Right. And I
Yeah.
don't tolerate if someone says something. I mean, I stand up, but then I'm like, we just kind of like, we're just kind of floating around in our own little world. And I do it in sports, like with the news. I don't ever watch the news. I don't ever watch it. It just makes me depressed.
Yep.
It makes my head want to explode. So I just get in my own little sports world. I live in my little sports kingdom and everything's great. It's just sports. And sometimes we have controversy, but at the end of the day, it's just sports.
Right.
And it's so fun and happy. And then it's like, then something like this hits and you're like, I need to get my head out of my ass. I need to stop being a sports chick that only pays attention to one thing and turns my eye to what's going on in the world. And I think for a while, especially when you first start to have kids, you're like, I'm worried about these four walls, these people inside of it. I'm having enough trouble keeping, my shit together in my house. I need to worry about that. And then the world can take care of itself. And I just think it's just not enough anymore.
And I think that a lot of people feel the same way. I've been the same way. I've kept myself in, a little bubble, and in our bubble, everything's good. And like you said, like, I know I'm not racist. I wasn't raised in a racist family, but I've been around it and I didn't step on it. I didn't tell someone, no, don't say that. I didn't go out of my way to try and change the way that person thinks or figure out why they think that way. I didn't do any of that. So, there's a point where we're all a little bit guilty, but I, for the first time ever, like, have so much hope about what's going on and people's voices are being heard. There's so many places we could go with this, right? And so many thoughts that I've had throughout the past week, just processing it all, because when you turn on the news and you see things on fire and you see people that are being hurt, whether it's the protesters, the looters, the cops, it's almost like it sometimes looks like war out there, like in our country. And my initial reaction is shock, and I'm pissed at that this is what's happening on our streets and our cities. My initial reaction, I will say, for the first 2 days was just like, I'm almost want to turn a blind eye, because this is scary. This is scary. I don't want to go outside. I don't want my kids to even know what's going on. Why do people need to crash windows and destroy businesses and all of that? I had all of those thoughts. Now, and it's only been a few days, but you see how many people are talking about it. You see how much awareness has been brought to this giant issue in our country. And if that's what it took, now I hope those types of exhibits or exhibitions or whatever you want to call it can subside, just for the sake of people's safety, the cops' safety, the everybody's safety, the protesters' safety, everything. I don't want anybody ever getting hurt ever,
Right.
just for speaking their mind or just for trying to defend their citizens, like the cops are doing.
I know, and then people think that it's a cop issue. Like if you support Black Lives Matter, or you're behind this, that you're against the cops.
No,
Or it's not a cop issue. I mean, that's part of the issue, but it's more than that. I mean, I remember I grew up in Plainview, Texas, which is buckle of the Bible Belt, very conservative. But we only had one high school, and everybody went to one high school, so we were all together. We weren't all friends. I mean, there were beefs or whatever, but I've always been around people that were different than me, came from different socioeconomic backgrounds, all that kind of stuff. So that, for me, it started at a very early age. I remember being freshly out of college, and one of my dear friends, Dennis Simmons, who was on the Tech football coaching staff at the time, and now is the wide receivers coach at Oklahoma. And he and I were not best friends, but very close friends. I was in his wedding. He was largely responsible for me getting the job at Fox Sports Southwest in Dallas. He's a huge part of my life. We would go out to a club or something, and they wouldn't let him in because he was wearing I can't remember. I remember one night he was wearing one of those hats, like LL Cool, like a bucket hat, like LL Cool J wears, and like a vintage, like a ABA jersey or a Negro Leagues jersey. It was some throwback vintage jersey.
Right.
They wouldn't let him in. I mean, I'm like, what?
And they come up with some reason
That's
about
what
they're wearing. But
and we would go places, and people would look at us strange. You know what I mean? Because he was black and I was white, and and to me, it opened my eyes and it broke my heart for him. And he was like, I mean, he shrugged it off. He was so used to it. It's like, unless it's overt and blatant, he's like, it's so used to it. I saw a post today from Ian Desmond, who used to play for the Rangers, said that when he's had someone come into his house in the last year that has said, "Oh, what do? You must be an athlete. You must be an athlete because you have a big, nice house and you're black." Like, oh my God. Like someone said that out loud. And so to me, I know. And it seems so like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it seems so crazy to me that like, but that's like common. I mean, that guy, a parent or girl, whoever it was, didn't think twice about it.
No.
Not only thought it in his head, but said it out loud, like verbalized it where someone could hear. And not only just someone, Ian himself. Like, for the love, what is wrong with us?
I don't know. In just you saying that your friend getting those kinds of, getting that kind of like block to go into somewhere because of what he's wearing, he just shrugged it off because he's like, well, it happens. Like that kind of thing is what is so disturbing and is so, they figure it's easier to shrug it off than to do something like they're doing now. And so I am happy that this is happening for everybody. You know, I can't imagine going through life that way and having such an underlying like pain and sadness that you fight through every day just because of your skin color and just because of who you were born to. Yeah. I just can't imagine having that pain. So, but
this is what I mean, like, but for white people to ignore or refuse to acknowledge that exists.
Right. Because it's easier.
That's a huge problem.
Yep.
A huge problem.
Yep.
And that's why people need to know. I mean, and I don't think the people who haven't known about those treatments are mean or racist or whatever. I just think they don't know. But if you are made aware of it and then you don't acknowledge it, then that's on you. That's your problem.
Right.
But I do believe that there are people out there that didn't know that instances like the two I talked about.
Right.
Would be appalled and would think that how can that exist in this day and age?
Right.
And it does.
Either they don't know it or they see it and don't even notice, you know.
Or they refuse to, or they turn their head or they
think that's normal. That's a normal thing to say. Oh, you must be an athlete. Like it's become just too accepted to talk and to speak like that. So I'm there's just so many emotions every day. You know, you're disturbed by what you're seeing. You feel like the person in charge could be doing things totally differently that could be helping the situation. But I think what it comes down to is if each one of us, and this is what I was thinking about today. I saw what Tyler Sagan had to say about,
which was brilliant, by the way.
Yes. When it comes to like tweeting, I just tweet or say something when I feel pulled to do it and not. And I did when I saw what Tyler said, because I hadn't said anything for a few days. But, you know, just these athletes like Tyler saying, we go out there and we go to these schools. We, you know, do these like, they go into a classroom and they shake hands with kids, or the hospital visits that they do. They do a lot of things because it's good and it makes them feel happy. And it's also like partly PR kind of deal.
Sure.
But he wants to take the next step. And I know so many people feel the same way. He's saying, I go out there and I play ball hockey at this school, St. Philip's, which is a wonderful school that the Stars support down in downtown Dallas. And most predominantly African-American kids, underprivileged, they get scholarships to go to this school. And I met a lot of these kids at one of the Stars functions, and they were just oh my God, just awesome kids, just well-spoken. They're all whatever, all for one for all helping each other. And Tyler was very involved with them, but he'd go out there and play ball hockey. Well, he's saying, I want to do more. What's the next level? And I just feel like that is a good way to kind of symbolize how we should all be feeling. So maybe you do this, maybe you do that, maybe you post on social media that you're outraged, or you can't believe that the way this officer was treated, or that officer, or sorry, excuse me, not the officer was treated. In this case, it was George Floyd, the way he was treated that sparked all of this. But what are you going to do with that? And that's what I personally want to focus on. And I think a lot of people should, whether that's finding somewhere like St. Philip's, or how can you really make a difference? What do I need to read? Like, what documentaries do I need to watch to fully understand? And not just that, reading and watching a TV show on Netflix will help, but that's not enough.
It's not just about the last 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20,
exactly.
30. It's about it's all built up to this, and it's all evolved into this. You know, and there are things you can do. It's like you said, you know, getting involved, with the school like that. I participate in a program called Kids Hope, and it's you're kind of placed as a mentor into lesser advantaged or schools that don't have the same advantages as maybe some other public schools,
right? Which is a whole nother thing.
Resources,
yeah.
And so I'm paired with. I have a kid named Daniel. He's been great. I've been with him for 2 years now, and he's not an African American kid, but he's a Hispanic kid, and it's not just about it's the system overall too, right? I mean, we're not just talking about. Yes, the Black Lives Matter movement is important, and it's at the forefront right now. But as we talked about, it's systemic. It's not just Black kids that are experiencing these setbacks.
Yep.
And so that is one thing you can do. I volunteer. It's once a week. I go to school. We sit there and shoot the breeze for a few minutes. I help him with his reading. Spend about 45 minutes to an hour with him. And that's something where I hope that he'll take that opportunity. And I heard one of your coworkers, Jay Kemp, say, he does the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. I did that too in Lubbock when I was there, and it was one of the most rewarding things of my life. I still have a relationship with the girl that I was paired with there. But if you could just change the way that someone of color looks at a white person, how they deal with them, how they interact with them, because they may not do that on a regular basis, and they could have a negative viewpoint of white people just because of the treatment that they've seen coming from that. So that is one way that you can get involved, is to find an organization. And now I feel like in social media, so many people are putting that information out there, putting those resources out there, which is hugely helpful. And then for me, Monday, after consuming all of this, my kids weren't in town. They were in with my sister-in-law, or my sister and brother-in-law. Yeah. And so I consumed a lot of it over the weekend. And when we went and picked them up on Sunday, we, had a nice family dinner, and we didn't talk about it or anything. And then Monday, I consumed a little bit more. They were at camp, and I picked them up from camp. And I was like, hey, I want to talk to you guys about something. And so for 30 minutes, we talked about racism. And I told them that their grandparents were racist. And they asked why. And I said, well, there's no excuse for it. But in that time, it was acceptable. And they didn't buck that trend. They chose to conform with what everyone around them was doing.
It was more common than not, probably.
And they were. And I said, fortunately, Poppy, my dad, was not. And so he didn't teach those things to me. He taught me the opposite. And so I tried to answer questions for them. I mean, Henry asked. I mean, they're almost 9 and 7 now.
Yeah, I want to know how they received it.
I felt like it was important. And so Hattie, my younger one, was kind of like, she was in and out of it. I don't think she's kind of in her own little world anyway. But Henry's very contemplative. Yeah, and so he was like, I said, do you know anything about it? And he was like, a little bit. I saw a little bit was on the TV this weekend. And he said, why are they breaking things? And then I just tried to explain to him, like, they're angry. They're upset. They're frustrated. They've been dealing with this for a very long time. And it's just, they've kind of reached their boiling point. And I told him, I told them that, that George Floyd was killed by a police officer that the officer put his knee on his neck, and it stayed there for almost 9 minutes until he suffocated and died. And I told him that I watched the video, and it made me disgusted, and it made me want to vomit, and that it might be a little much for their, little brains to comprehend, but I wanted them to know how serious it was. And why I was so upset. I was bawling the entire time. And Henry kept asking, are you okay, Mom? Are you okay? And I was like, yes, I'm okay. But I just want you to know, like, this is not who we are. This is not how I'm raising you. Yeah. And excuse me. And then I went on to say, it's not enough just to be nice. I told him, like, your friend Jaden in your class, like, he used to, like, his parents probably couldn't go, I don't know how old they are, or his grandparents couldn't drink out of the same water fountain. Can you imagine if Jaden had to go to a different water fountain than you and go to a different bathroom? He's like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, it's awful. It's terrible. And that's why they're so frustrated, because that's the way they were treated. And then I told him at the end, I was like, this is what I want you guys to know. This is not who we are. This is not how we're raising you. We're Christians. And this is how we operate as a family, as Christians, as humans. This is how we operate. Yeah. And I said, it's not enough to be nice. It's not enough to just not be mean. It's not enough to be inclusive. You have to stand up. We have to speak up. our friends need our help, and we need to speak up for them, and we need to stand up for them. And that is what we're going to do. We're not just going to be nice. We're not just going to be inclusive. We're not just going to turn our head. We are going to speak up for those who need us, because they have lost their voice along the way.
And I hope, and I feel like there's a lot of parents having those same conversations right now, and I hope that they are. That's so powerful, Emily. And I can only imagine just sitting there, because we're still processing it, and then you're trying to talk to somebody who you just want to grow up in this world and not even have this be a thing. Right. You're trying to portray that to them while we're still like shocked at, just everything going on. And I struggle. So Ryder's, he's about to be 5. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. I think that a lot of us might be in the same place where what we do in our family is, to me, like, obviously we could care less what color anybody is. Like, it's just never been a thing. His first caretaker outside of me was an African-American woman who was his nanny. And to him, he didn't think, that's normal. So I feel like to him, he doesn't look around and even notice, Right. And so, but somewhere along the way, that changes when kids are probably about, my kids 2 to 5 years old to like 5 to 10 years old. I feel like that changes, and that changes based on what they're hearing at school. And that changes based on what adults in their life might even be saying. So I feel like it's on us, our generation of moms and parents, to have this group of young children be some of the leaders in this change. And we can get in there between the age where they're just young and innocent and everyone's the same, and they don't see skin color, to the age where they start to have these beliefs that they only believe because they're hearing other people say it or do it, and they don't take the time to figure out why. So it's somewhere in there, and our kids are your kids are in that range. My kids are about to be in that range. And if we can all do this, then we can really change how these children are being raised and how they're perceiving other people in their classes and their schools. I know I was the same way. I went to a school here in Dallas, Hamilton Park, Pacesetter. It was a magnet school. And I was one of like 3 white kids in the class. Like, I just didn't, and I didn't think anything of it. I didn't care. Like, we were all the same. We were all friends. I went to public schools my whole life. But there's a point where it gets beyond that. And you do notice that these kids are all hanging out together, and these kids are all hanging out together, and these kids are doing one, or like, some are cheerleaders and some are not doing whatever. Things just change. And so I think that's what I'm hoping, is that moms like us and people listening can figure out how to get in that window of time where your kids are formulating their thoughts and opinions, and educate them and help them. And then along the way, hopefully we see a lot of change from it, just from our youth.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to tell. That's why, like I said, I told my kids, like, no one is born. You're not born like this. You're not born not liking someone because of the color of their skin. And so I'm here to tell you, I'm teaching you that is not right.
Right.
You're not better than anyone else based on anything.
No.
The color of your skin, the cars we drive, the house we live in, the grades you make. I don't give a S about any of that.
Yep.
You are who you are because of your heart. I tell them every day on the way to school, before I drop them off, you be kind, grateful, respectful, brave.
Yep.
Those 4 things. And you are not any better than anyone else based on anything. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, and you better bet your ass I'm going to remind you that on the reg, because this is not going away. I will not, I just can't. And then you think about, like, trying to tell them that it's not learned, and that it's, and you're trying to teach them why it's happening. Like when Henry asked about the breaking of the buildings. And then that's when I told him that, my grandparents were racist. That's embarrassing. That's so, and it's, you don't want to admit that.
Yeah.
No one would ever know if I didn't say something,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I felt it was important for him. Like, this is what you need to know. This happened very, relatively speaking, recently.
Not that long ago. And it was it happened in our family, and we're changing that. We're not going to allow it to continue. And isn't that powerful to these kids, that they can be the change? Like, they can stop the tradition. They can stop the history. They can stop the tradition of hate in our country. We can too. You and I, like, have voices. I think anybody that has a voice that really cares, don't just do it because you feel like you have to, but we all need to be doing everything in our power.
And I'm going to say one more thing, and this is pretty much all I have to say on the subject because I don't want to start crying again. But,
it's okay.
White women, you need to talk to your white husbands.
Mm-hmm. You know what? That's a point that hasn't been discussed.
To your white husbands. Women traditionally, stereotypically, generally are more empathetic. They see more of things. They allow themselves to see these things, to consume these things. Whereas men are just kind of we're going to just keep the ship going and everything's going good. And, you know, we've been living this really cush life for a long time. So let's just not rock the boat, right? Mm-hmm. White women, talk to your white husbands. Mm-hmm. You have to have the conversations because it's too easy for them to just kind of coast along and kind of don't rock the boat. Right. And things have been going really well for us for, you know, centuries and stuff. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's going to take that too. It's going to take those guys. It's going to take the rich white Christian man to suck it up and take a stand.
Yep.
And do what's right. And
that's a really good point.
What's right.
That's a really good point. I've been listening.
So if you are listening, ladies, talk to your husbands. Talk to your husbands.
Talk to your husbands. Talk to your kids. Talk to yourself. Find it in yourself first. Talk to your friends.
For sure.
You know,
and it's okay to have, I mean, like we said at the beginning, like we're all just, I just want to do something to help.
Yeah.
And I may not always hit the mark, but for shit's sake, if I can do something, if you know something that I can do that could be of help, for the love, please tell me. Because I feel like there's so many of us that feel the same way, that would be so happy to do something. We're just kind of at a loss. And that did make me feel better to have the conversation with my kids because I thought,
you're doing something.
I'm going to verbalize it. I'm not just going to do it by the way that I parent and by the way that I live and by the things that I say. I'm going to flat out tell them we are not going to do this.
And I think that's what people are talking about when they say make it uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's easier to not. It's easier to just make sure that your kids are doing and saying the right things instead of broaching that topic with them and opening it up and making it a dialogue in your house. So that's personally what I'm going to be working on, you know, but catering it to a 5-year-old. So I'm trying to figure that out. I'm sure there's books and things like that we can start. A couple things I have to just, you talking about the white men and the conservative Christian men, I have so much respect, and I just have to give the guys on the ticket a shout out for what they're doing.
No doubt.
It's helped me process. I'm in a unique spot where I'm not on the air right now and I'm just listening, and now I get it. Like, I get why it's so powerful. Everybody's experiencing this together, and I've never heard my coworkers be more honest and open and forward thinking with their thoughts, and just even hearing somebody like Bob, you know, have this like evolution on the air, and so many people listen to him. And Jake has the mouthpiece to a younger group, and they're all just doing so much. I don't know whether they know it or not, but I have to put that out there. I think that's helping.
I completely agree. I've listened literally from 5:30 a.m. to 7 p.m.
It's can't miss radio.
It is. They are to be commended.
Yes,
they really are.
They really are. And then the other thing that I had a thought. So we talk about getting the word out. We talk about figuring out how to make a difference. With our podcast here, we have to, I mean, I feel stupid almost even tweeting sometimes out, like, here's our podcast this week. I hate self-promotion, but we have to do it or else no one knows. Sure. So something that I was just thinking about is with this podcast, and, you know, anytime we tweet about the mom game, like, let's eye for an eye, find something else. Like, let's find a resource that we can put out there regarding this topic and tweet that out too.
Tell us how we can spread the word. Yes.
And then if we
great idea.
If we get these great ideas that come to us and somebody says you really need to do this, or here's an organization that you can work with, or you really have to like read this book or whatever that may be, let's study that like homework project. Yeah. And then every time we say like, hey, check us out, you know, like I feel like can I say douche? I feel like a douche sometimes even doing that with our podcast, but we're doing this because we want people to hear it, and we have social media to kind of get the word out. So every time we do that, let's also send a tweet out for something that people can do to make a difference, because we need this to continue. We don't need people to just say, I agree, I'm not racist. I think everything's changing. Let's move on with our world. But what can we do? And I'm challenging myself to do that. I think we can challenge our listeners to do that. And as much as we can put out there, because sometimes it's like why Instagram shopping is so easy. You see the link and it's right there in your face. You click on it and then it comes to your house. Yeah. If we put that in people's face and say, click on this link and this will follow these steps, this will help you make a difference, then I think that they will.
And it's what we always talk about. We want to be a community. We want to be a resource. Yes. We want to hear from you. Is there something that I've said or Julie said today that you're just like, you don't get it, or
that's fine.
Whatever. Please, for the love, we don't have all the answers. We're not doing all the right things. I want to learn. I want to learn. I want to take it all in. I want to listen. I'm not going to listen to people who are going to berate me for my whatever.
Right. You don't have to.
But I absolutely, if you have good intentions and you want to, in good faith, educate me on something, feel free. Yep. I am all ears.
Oh yeah.
And maybe
we're not claiming to be experts on
maybe we can get we'll start working on some guests in the next couple of weeks where we can get some people on here to talk us through things, to give us perspectives that we don't have.
Oh yeah. Because how many times do we deal with athletes of a different race in our job and talk to them about the game?
Right. Yeah.
Like we can talk, they probably would be happy to talk about some deeper underlying issues, which we can do as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel better about just talking about it. It's helped. So thank you for speaking and being open, and thanks for listening to me. I love that we have this platform where we can discuss these things, and it's not something that we could just kind of skate by, because that's all my brain's thinking about this week, and I can tell yours as well. So it's been good. It's been good to vent.
Yes.
And luckily, we have this platform like we talk about, and a lot of that is because of one of our biggest sponsors, who we, of course, have to give a shout out to, our title sponsor, so actually our biggest one, and that is Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry. Things are opening back up. The world is getting back to normal. They are too. You probably haven't brushed your teeth, or hopefully you've brushed your teeth. You probably haven't gone to the dentist in a while, so if you need somewhere to go, if you, like me, kind of checked out the past year or so and you're like, I don't even have a dentist, well, make sure that you find Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry. They will hook you up if you've put off those exams or a cleaning. They can handle all of your cosmetic dental needs too, in addition to those cleanings. Right now, they have a pretty cool giveaway going on. If you book an appointment for a limited time, new patients will receive a free Sonic toothbrush. And no matter what procedure you need, your comfort, safety, and the safety of the staff will be their primary concern. Here's the phone number. So call Cowden Cosmetic Dentistry, 972-380-6223. The website, info@cowdencosmeticdentistry.com. If you want to email them, they gave us a couple of those toothbrushes.
I know. I can't wait to try my new Sonic here.
I tried it last night. Is it awesome? It's aggressive. It's fun. I like it. I'd never used an electric toothbrush, but it's like, whoa.
I have one of those like cheapy ones from the grocery store.
Well,
so I probably need to
upgrade. Yes, I have.
Big thanks to
I have yours. I'll get it to you.
Upgrading my toothbrush game.
Yes, they're the best.
Well, thank you guys again so much for being with us. Julie, it was awesome to be with you today. I know a little bit of a different feel for us, but I think it's important that we all vent, talk about things, and continue to share our experiences, continue to listen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hopefully it's just the beginning.
I know. And hopefully it gets better and better and better. But we'll see you here next week. And until then, on Game Out.
Peace out.